This is Rick Kasalj, injury specialist from exercisesforinjuries.com. In today's video, I wanted to go through lower back and hip pain exercises that work. And I'll get Donna-Lee to demonstrate the first exercise, and then I'll go through in detail and I'll show you a couple more. Perfect. So that ends up being the first one, the angry cat. So what we're working on is the mobility of the spine. So Donna-Lee's bringing the head forward, rounding out the back, tilting the pelvis, and then going the other way, dropping the stomach, arching the other way, bringing the head back, tilting the pelvis forward, and then going the opposite way, tilting the pelvis back, rounding out the spine, dropping the head. So she's moving smooth and controlled between both of the positions. And with this one, what we're doing is we're working on improving the mobility in the low back area and in the hip area. So what I mean by mobility is we're looking at improving the movement in those joints, especially in the lumbar spine, lower back, and that hip area. Now looking at sets, reps, time, and intensity. Sets, 1. Repetitions, I'm going to get you to do like 5, and 1 repetition is rounding up and then dropping down, ends up being 1 repetition. Time, smooth controlled movement with a good stop at the top and the bottom position. I'd say like for a second or two, a good 2 seconds. And then when it comes to intensity, intensity ends up being light because we're working on a mobility exercise. We want to improve the movement in those joints, regain those movement in the joints, and also kind of loosen up any resistance that's happening around the joints. Perfect. So that's the first one that you should do. Now the second one ends up being open and close. So with this one, you're lying on your side, arms are straight. Now when it comes to the head, you can kind of keep it elevated off the ground, or you can kind of put something underneath to kind of keep your spine in alignment, and that's ideal. There you go. So that you keep the spine in good alignment. And so Donna-Lee is lying on her side, shoulders are stacked, bent at the hip, bent at the knee. Now she's going to open up, bring that arm back, try to bring the arm on the ground, good, and then back to the start. So our lower body is staying fixed. What we're getting movement and mobility in the mid back and in that low back, and with it being the low back, it also ends up helping in the hip. When it comes to sets, reps, and time with this one, Donna-Lee's opening up, working on that mobility in the mid back, low back area, and the hip area. But looking at the sets, reps, and time and intensity. Sets, 1, repetitions would be 5, and 1 is opening up and closing. Time, just like Donna-Lee's doing, smooth controlled movement with a good stop at the end position and the start position, I'd say for a second or 2. Intensity ends up being light. Once again, this ends up being a mobility exercise. We're targeting the mobility in the mid back, but also carrying down to the low back area, and also it ends up benefiting the hip. Like if we can loosen up that lower back area more, it ends up helping with the hip pain, because what will happen is if the mobility in the low back is poor, and somewhere else has to pick up the slack. And either that's above, so in the mid-back area, or that's below in the hip area. So if we can help improve the mobility in that low back area, it ends up helping with hip pain. Perfect. Now we move on into the fourth exercise, which ends up being press-ups. So you're gonna, oh, sorry, it's the third one, sorry. The third one ends up being knees side to side. So you're lying on your back, hands to the side, you're relaxed in the upper body, your feet are together and knees are together, and you're going to rock the knees to one side, and then you're going to rock your knees to the other side. And just kind of rocking back and forth. So with this knee side to side, what we're doing is upper body ends up being fixed, and what's moving is the lower body. So now we get a lot more mobility in the lower back part and in the hip area. So we did the open and close, which really targets the upper part of the body. Now we switch things, and we're focusing more on the lower part of the body, lower back and hip area more. Now when it comes to sets, reps, time, and intensity, sets end up being 1. Repetitions is 5, so 5 each side, alternating back and forth. Time, smooth controlled movement with a good stop at each position, or specifically the end positions, so a second or 2. Intensity ends up being light because once again this ends up being a mobility exercise where we're looking at maintaining, improving that movement in the joint and also kind of loosening up the structures around that joint. Okay, now we're moving on to the 4th one, the press up. Hands, so you're nice straight line lying on your stomach, hands are underneath your shoulders. Donnelly's got great neck position, so her forehead is in the floor. And then now what she's going to do is press up, arch through the low back, mid back, and hip. Hold for a second or 2 and then come back down. Smooth controlled movement. Good to the starting position and pressing back up. Good. So once again, this ends up being a great mobility exercise that ends up helping with lower back pain and hip pain. So we're working on improving the mobility in the low back, and then with this press up, we're pushing the hip into extension, which ends up being very helpful because with our sitting society, we tend to be flexed in the hip. That flexed hip ends up leading to a tight hip, which ends up leading to tightness and pain in that hip. So with this, we're working on mobility in the back, and also with the extension in the hip, that ends up helping when it comes to relieving hip pain and any lower back tightness or pain. When it comes to sets, reps, time, and intensity, sets 1, repetitions would be 5, time would be smooth controlled movement with a good stop at the end in the start position, I'd say for a second or 2. And then lastly, intensity ends up being light because we're focusing on a mobility exercise. Awesome, Donnelly. So there you go. Give those 4 exercises a go in order to help you with your lower back and hip pain. Now, if you want some of my other tips and tricks when it relates to hip pain, how to relieve hip pain, then what I would recommend you do is click right here. I have a brand new free report called 5 Tricks That Fight Hip Pain and Tightness. Just click right here. Let me know where to send that brand new free report, and I'll send you that brand new free report right away. Now, if you're watching this on a mobile device, tablet, smartphone, head down below in the description and click the first link, which will end up being exercisesforinjuries.com/hips. Let me know where to send that report and I'll send you that report right away. Now, if you got benefit from this video, make sure to like this video. If you have a question or comment for me, leave it down below in the comments section. And then lastly, hit subscribe if you have any, if you want to be kept up to date with future pain relieving videos.